Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Flibber Jabber podcast. I am your host, DrapPep, the host with the most. So, as I promised, I shouldn't say promised, as I said, because I never really actually promised anything, but as I said in last episode, that I'm going to start doing at least 3 or 4. It's looking like it's going to be 4 podcasts that I'm going to pre-record. So I don't know how last podcast turned out. It could have been controversial. It could have been loved. It could have been hated. Just know that I'm going to do at least at 3, at most 4 of these, where I kind of just speak my mind freely and share some fun stories. And so for this installment of the Jibber Jabber podcast, I'm going to talk about peppers. Not chili peppers, but my Facebook account peppers. You see, this is not a page. This is a separate account that I found out you can make. You can make a backup account on your main account. Like, you don't have to input a new email and password and all that. No, it's just a separate account that you can have connected. And I wanted to make one just because I wanted to start adding. Well, I actually made a good post here. I made a new profile so I can address strangers and post more freely without worrying about them bothering my friends and family. And what's funny is that it didn't worry my friends and family. Like, a lot of my friends' family ended up adding me on there, Peppers, and they're like, "Is this you?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." And it was kind of interesting to see people reacting to me being honest and truthful about some things. But what's really interesting is that the amount of people that actually react to the majority of my posts are the strangers. Like, they're the ones that genuinely love what I post. And so in today's installment, I would like to read some of what I have posted and kind of elaborate just a little bit more than about some of the stuff I've posted. All right, I kind of want to read this one, not because it's so deep and meaningful, but because I really find it funny. Real men fuck up. What defines a man is up, man. Man are the fuck. Steps he takes with fuck. Can after. He fucks up. Such a wow. Such a deep thoughted pose. So good. Here's another one. Never let a good crisis go to waste. I didn't post that one. I wish I was the original author to that. I love that one. Uh okay. This one's more about my name, and I'll go into deeper context. But let me read the post. Peppers comes from my middle school days when bullies made fun of my gray in my hair, calling me names like Salt and Pepper, and joking that I looked like an old man. At first, it bothered me, but one day I decided to own it. I embraced the name and made it my own, turning their insults into something cool. That that took away their power, and now Peppers is a name I wear with pride. So much so that it just stuck, and now everyone calls me that. It was really funny is that, like, a few friends from high school were like, "Oh my god, I didn't know that was supposed to be an insult. I just called you Peppers because that was your nickname." I'm like, no, 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 no. That it is my nickname. It's just it originally started as an insult. Here's what's funny. I don't know why I let that get to me. I don't, like, years later, I don't know why people were like, "Oh, you look like an old man." I don't know why that got to me in middle school. And now it doesn't get to me at all. Like, when people are like, "What are you doing on YouTube? You're so old." It doesn't bother me. You don't realize I've been made fun of for being old since middle school. What you're doing is nothing new. In fact, I've already preconditioned my responses based on things that I used to say back in middle school. Like, it's nothing new. You think you're the first one to make fun of my gray hair? At this point, it's no longer gray. It's like my hair is just straight up turning white, and I'm only 33. So the fact that I have a full head of white hair, people are like, "Oh wow, you've gone up in age." No, 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 I haven't. But here's what's wild to me. Like, yes, in high school, people made fun of my gray hair, but like now people dye it gray. It went from ha ha ha, you're old, to you're paying now lots of money at the salon to dye your hair my color. Ha 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 ha. That's funny. You're trying to look like me. Aw. Aw. Look at you. You went from hating me to loving my hair color. That's a funny feeling. Uh here's one. Here's another post that I've made on my Facebook page, Peppers. Here's another one. A wise habit is to embrace the truth that you do not know everything, to recognize the endless room for growth, and to trust that there is always more to learn beyond what you perceive. Uh, which is it's a statement that I truly believe. No matter how much you try to learn, no matter like how much time you spend trying to, oh yeah, like I know everything about Star Wars. No, you don't. Yes, I do. I know everything about Star Wars. All right, what's the name of the music in the cantina? Don't actually put that in the live chat. Stop putting that in the live chat. Don't do that. Everyone's just like, it's jizz. No, stop it. But like, here's the thing: even if you claim that you know everything about something, you'll be surprised that there's still new stuff to learn, even if it's not canon. Like I've pointed out facts about the Star Wars Legends. They're like, oh well, that's not canon anymore. Yeah, but did you know it? Did you know it? It's canon to the Legends. Did you know that? Or when people are like, oh yeah, I know everything about history. All right, tell me the history of Papua New Guinea. Like, well, I mean, I meant U.S. history. It's like, oh, so it's not a blanketed U.S. history. It's just one nation's history. Wow. Imagine they start telling me the actual history of Papua New Guinea. Look, well, you see, cannibalism there started. They started eating people back in this time area. Did you guys know that? I remember when I was taking anthropology in college, and my professor wanted to talk about Papua New Guinea, and he was just like, "Oh yeah, the reason why they eat people," and I'm like, "All right, you have my attention. What's the reason why they eat people?" And they're like, "Oh, it's because of witchcraft." I'm like, "You have my attention even more now." They believe that little side note, but in Papua New Guinea, they eat people because they're trying to keep their like essence with them. It's their way of keeping like a piece of their soul connected to them. But then they get the shakes, they get the jitters, they get the cannibalism shakes, and they thought it was something called kuru. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Kuru, but and it means that like they were like cursed by a witch, and so they would go out and they would try to find a witch and they would like force her to uncurse them. And like of course you're not gonna get uncursed, you dingus. You got the shakies. You got the jitters. You got the cannibalism jitters. Of course you're not gonna stop. You're dying. And it wasn't until like an anthropologist went to Papua New Guinea and they did like a research on their religion and faith that then eventually they were like, oh yeah, stop eating people and you'll stop getting sick. And so I think it was the Australian government that had to like step in and tell them to stop. And they're like, no, you can't eat people anymore. You need to not. And they were like, "You can't stop us. It's our religion. It's our faith." Homie, no, stop. And they still did it in secret, but like now there's a law enforcing them to stop eating people. And it's not like they're alive, it's the ones that have passed away. And they showed that the men were eating the muscle tissue, and the kuru was mostly directed towards women and children. And they quickly found out that, like, oh yeah, you see, the men got the good parts of the body, like the muscles, and then the women and children got the nerve system, and that's what was causing the kuru. When you start eating like brain stems and like the spinal cord, oh yeah, oh yeah, that's the good stuff. That's what's really gonna get you the jitters. Oh yeah, that's what's gonna cause it right there. And so they had to like stop Papua New Guinea from eating more people because of that. Anyways, I hope everyone enjoyed that little bit of lore, that little bit of history. Um, Here's a good one. I believe that some events in life are destined to happen, fixed points or canon events that are unavoidable no matter what we do. Call it fate, call it destiny, but we are bound to certain moments shaped by forces beyond our control. Even now, decisions are being made by those with power and authority, setting things in motion that we have no say in. Yet, in the face of inevitability, our one true freedom lies in how we carry ourselves during times of great distress. When life is at its hardest, our actions, how we respond, how we endure, are the only things truly within our control. We can choose to meet hardship with outrage or resilience, to be consumed by circumstances, or to make the best of them. I do believe in free will, but I also recognize that the choices of others, the circumstances we're thrown into, can shape how we feel, and the paths are open to us. Even so, within those limits, we still have a choice. And in that choice, our own actions, our own response, lies the only real freedom we possess. And let me to dive a little into that. So I have looked at history before, and I've seen that history repeats itself. History does repeat itself. Sometimes it's because of people repeating the same actions over and over again. But I do believe that because a lot of things that are outside of our control and that someone else controls that fate for us, that we are destined to keep repeating history. And that because of that, because we like to believe that we're making better choices in the future, we're making the same dumb choices that people were making 100 years ago. And those people were making the same dumb choices that were being made previously 100 years ago. And no matter how much we try to say, oh, well, we've got better technology, our medicine has improved, we have a better understanding of each other. No matter how you try to reason it, destined is the future is destined to repeat itself. And that's just an ugly truth. And it's mostly due to the fact that there's other people making decisions for us. Mostly because there's three things in humanity that will never change. One of them is greed. As long as there's still a concept of greed, then we are stuck to repeat the sins of our past. Because people who are greedy and people who, and I'm not talking about like, oh, well, I like to eat all the ice cream in the refrigerator. What I mean to say is people who are a part of the 1%. They have a certain mentality about them. And okay, maybe not a blanketed term of the 1%, but like, you know what I mean. The bourgeoisie. You know what I'm talking about? The bourgeoisie. Those are the ones that are like truly fucking it up for everyone else. Because they're pretty much going, well, I can make more money if I do it this way. It's like, yeah, but like that's horrible conditions for everyone else. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Do it. Put those into motion. Put my ideas in my head into reality. And it makes it horrible for all of us. It makes it great for them though. It makes it really good for them. Makes it very much more easier for them to step on our backs. But for all of us who are below them, who we have this concept of like, well, it's out of my hands. There's nothing I can do. I guess I'll just live on my life doing nothing about it. I'll say nothing about it. I'll never talk about it. Well, guess what? Guess what? Now we're going to go down the same path. I know this is like a meme because everyone's like, oh, the Roman Empire. You're a typical man wanting to talk about the Roman Empire. You want to see how history repeats itself? Look at the Roman Empire. I challenge you to look up the reasons why it collapsed. Go ahead. And then now look at what's going on now. Go ahead. Go ahead. Look at it. Let's see if we'll notice any similarities here. Here's another one. And this is kind of like a scary fact. But like most empires only last for like a short period of time. But like there's almost and I've heard other people talk about this. This is not my own opinion. I'm just regurgitating what I've heard other people say. But like most empires only last a certain amount of time. And like people have shown me like, oh yeah, look, all these empires that have fallen only lasted this amount of time. And America is we're about time. We're about due time of a collapse of our nation, of our empire. And the way that I haven't really truly looked at the other empires, but I've looked at the Roman Empire, and the way that they collapsed is kind of similar to the way that we're doing things right now. Oh, what's that? We're making food expensive? Huh. Oh, what's that? We're trying to distract people with a cultural thing like media? Huh. Oh, what's that? The government is taking away a lot of our freedoms and is making more decisions on our behalf without us asking them to? Huh. Interesting. Yeah. That sounds a lot like the Roman Empire. Huh. Interesting. As long as there's still people like that who are making decisions for us, then we are destined to repeat the past. Ooh, our future is pretty much preordained. It's set in stone. And unless we were to remove those kinds of obstacles, we will continue to loop around over and over and over again. That's just how it is. It's not necessarily my opinion either. There's so many studies about this. There's so many. I shouldn't say that because I haven't really read any of the studies. I'm mostly going off of my own experience and views of what's going on. But like, I know I'm right. Yeah, but DrapPep, you never really read those studies. I know. I don't like reading. Give me an audiobook of it and I'll listen to the audiobook. uh Here's a good one. Trying a new method now. Tag me in some mass promo nonsense and congratulations, you've just earned yourself a one-way ticket to Bandtown. You can you know what you did. Go stand in the pile with the rest of the discarded accounts. So last episode, I talked about how I love banning people that mass tag me with like 90 other people. Uh, yeah, no, I, that was such a real thing for me to say that when did I post that, by the way? Let me check this out. Uh, May 20th. So this was definitely before I did that episode. I have already told people to their face that if you ever mass tag me with someone, I am banning you. And they're like, well, that seems a little extreme, doesn't it? I'm like, try me. Do it. See what happens. You think I'm joking? I will never unban. I when I ban someone, it's forever. Idiot. try mass tagging me in something. Fool. Alright. I keep meeting people who don't seem to have any real interest or hobbies. I'll ask, what do you do in your free time? And they'll say, I have a full-time job. I don't have time for anything else. And sure, I get that work takes a lot of energy, but What about your days off? I drink and watch TV. Look, I'm not saying everyone needs to have some grand time consuming hobby, but if you don't think drinking and watching TV can be a hobby, you're wrong. You can have a favorite show, a favorite beer. Hell, make an adventure out of it. Try a new beer you've never had before. Watch a show outside your usual taste. Just don't let your entire life revolve around work. Do something that makes life interesting. At the very least, make yourself interesting. So many times I've met people who are just kind of like, oh, my job's my hobby. You're the most driest, boring individual I've ever met. Boring if you say your job's your hobby. I just love what I do. In fact, when I'm not doing it at work, I go home and do it. God, you must be just a thrill to have at parties. For real though, if you claim that your job is your hobby, ugh, ugh, whoa, really? Stand back, everyone. We've got a party animal on our hands. Wow. I honestly, because even watching TV is kind of a stretch, but like it's still a hobby. It's still something interesting. Just try to be alive. You're on this planet. You're walking around. Try living it. And maybe just a little bit. There's hobbies that exist that are honestly not difficult to follow. Like wine tasting or and I think this is a hobby. I think it is. There's one where it's about uh cleansing yourself, like bathing, and there's people who when they think of like taking a bath, they think of like, okay, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna scrub up, and then I'm gonna walk back out and it's fine. And there's other people who are like, okay, I'm gonna soak and then I'm gonna bathe and then I'm fine. And then there's others who do like the shower bath shower, you know what I'm talking about, where you shower to get the grime off and then you bathe, like you soak to like loosen the muscles and to like, is it exfoliate? I don't know how to say that properly. But like they open up the pores and then they shower again to wash that off. Okay, I'm not talking about that. There is in fact like, okay, like, and I've watched people make videos about their like routines. And I think this I feel like this is a hobby. So they will start off by filling the bathtub with like water, like hot water or something like that, and then they'll like put in a bath bomb and they'll put in some like bath salts and then they'll add a little bit of like bubbles. And then while the water is starting to cool off just a little bit, they will then get like this tray that's perfectly made for the tub, and like they'll put food on there like sushi and like a glass of wine, and like they'll put on their favorite music, and then they'll like go grab a face mask to like put on while they soak, and then like they'll put like the avocados on, and then they will get like essential oils and soaps, and they will they have like all these different tools. Each one is meant for like, you know, taking off the callus or trying to like moisturize the skin better while you bathe, and so on and so forth. Like they have not just like, they don't just sit in the water and they soak. They have like this whole thing, and they do it like every night or like at least once a week, and they call it the me time. And I feel like me time, it should be a hobby. I think when you the moment you go a step above just simple bathing and you make a whole routine out of it, it should be considered a hobby. I'm pretty sure it is. uh Feel free and let me know, because I don't feel like looking it up. Feel free to let me know in the comments. Is it a hobby? But I think the moment you start bringing like tools and creams and oils and all this extra stuff Yeah, you've turned that into a hobby. Like you start like lighting candles, you start adding herbs, and you start g- uh, like you're doing more than everyone else. You have created an environment, a vibe to it. And that's just bathing. And that could be considered a hobby. At least to me it's considered a hobby. So don't like just be like, "Oh yeah, I go to work and I go home and then I wait until I die." Try to be interesting. Try to find something that will be interesting about you. Try to make your life fun. Don't just make it only about work. Try to be podcasts are a hobby. Listening to podcasts is a hobby, and you can do that in your vehicle on your way to work. The thing that you only care about. Don't be those people that are so boring that are like, I don't have any hobbies, so I don't know what's interesting. Because that's pretty much being dead while you're still alive. When you make your entire existence about your job, then congratulations, you don't exist. And a lot of people would try to defend, like, well, somebody has to put food on the table, somebody's got to put a roof over your head. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm not saying don't have responsibilities. I'm saying be interesting when you're not working, when you have your time off. Oh, I get it. You're tired. Oh, I get it. You don't find anything interesting. But that doesn't mean drinking beer and watching TV is not a hobby. That doesn't mean on the days off where you're not working, trying to like have a nice bath with all of the extra, bells and whistles isn't a hobby. That doesn't mean going out and with whatever money you had left over after the things that you had to responsibly pay for and getting yourself a nice meal. Being a foodie is a hobby. Going out and trying new food, that's a hobby. I'm just saying, I don't know, maybe sit down a little bit and kind of rethink it. Try to like find some hobbies that would be within your time frame. Not so much of like do everything you can to like be a nerd. No, just do a few things that are kind of quirky that kind of makes life worth living. Here's one. I used to love being called a goth back in high school. It felt like a core part of who I was, something I'd never grow out of. But as I got older, I started exploring different genres and experiences, not to move away from being goth, but to expand what it meant to me. Now in my 30s, people describe me as a mix of nerd and over the top goth. But I don't label myself anymore. I don't want to be confined by a single title or aesthetic. I am more than just a goth, more than someone who loves horror or dark music. My identity isn't just about being dark, it's about growth, exploration, and evolution. I want to rise above labels and become something limitless. I When I was in high school, the only thing that mattered to me was being a goth. And I don't really have a uniform anymore. Like I call it a uniform, but like I don't have a goth uniform. I used to. I used to love it. Um, it's not like I wouldn't now. I just can't afford it. But when I was younger, I used to just only listen to metal, only metal, and I was like, oh yeah, this is goth. It makes me feel angry. And I listen to way more goth music now than I did back then. I listen to way more goth music now than I did when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I didn't really care so much for goth music, and I was like, I don't know. I like the stuff that makes me mad. And now, well, now it's a little different. Now it's a little different. I like the band the Sisters of Mercy. That's a good one. And I also like I mean I still listen to metal, don't get me wrong. But every so often I'll listen to like Typo Negative, for example, right? I'll listen to I'm trying to think. uh Typo Negative, Sisters of Mercy, um London After Midnight. Like those are great bands. You know, I'm still kind of exploring, but at the same time I feel like I have more of a refined appreciation for goth music than I used to. But that being said, I don't want my entire identity to be just only about being a goth. I used to, but it's not my core personality any longer. It's something that I used to want, and now I've outgrown that. And it's it's still one of the things about me. Like it's but now I have more experiences, more things that I've piled on top of being a goth. And I kind of enjoy it. Like I enjoy being a nerd. I enjoy being goth. I enjoy being kind of like a metalhead, and I enjoy being, okay, so maybe three things, but it's still more than just only being goth. Like I will listen to goth music while wearing my Star Wars shirt. I will listen to System of a Down while, I'm in like a sushi place trying to order mochi. I don't think I've ever been to a goth club. But like I will definitely go into a goth club wearing bright colors that are all nerd stuff, and people will probably not care. But like if they were, they'd be like, why are you here? And I'd just be like, just to feel the pain and misery. Like to feel the vibe. I wanted to feel the vibe. That's why I came in here. All right. One of the hardest lessons I had to learn, but wished I'd learned sooner, is that no matter what you do, you will never make everyone happy. You can bend over backward, play by the rules, or try to fit in, but to someone somewhere, you'll always be an outsider. And no matter how good you are, someone will have something negative to say about you. At the end of the day, it's better to just live your life on your own terms, enjoy it the way that you want, and let people talk. They will anyways. Uh yeah. It's something that I have dealt with before in the past, where people will just be snooty and snobby towards me, and I'll just be like, "Oh, that's okay. Maybe if I make them laugh, they'll like me even more." No, that was just arrogant. And like my YouTube channel used to be like that. I would used to be like, "Oh, well, one day I'll make videos that everyone will love." No. You simply cannot make everyone happy, no matter how hard you try. No matter how hard you try, you cannot just make everyone like you. And I remember having people tell me like, well, then just surround yourself with people that you can make like you. Try to make videos that people will enjoy, and just focus on those people. But here's the thing: eventually, you will do something that will make the people that you okay. You surround yourself with people that like you, okay, but eventually you will do something that will upset them. Even though you surround yourself with people that agree with you, at some point you'll do or say something that even they will say something negative about. And even if you try to make videos on YouTube for those people that you found on the internet, eventually you'll make something that they're going to not like. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about making everyone happy. Don't worry about trying to find people to make happy. Do what makes you happy. Just, if you're going to make videos on YouTube or TikTok or wherever, make videos that you enjoy. Don't make videos because you're trying to make someone like you. Make videos that you would enjoy watching. Put content on the internet based on what you want to see on the internet. And try to just be yourself in front of people. And if they don't accept who you are, then they just did not accept it. Don't try to force who you are down someone's throat. Don't try to force people to like you. Just like them. Like them for who they are and just be authentic. Because that's the best we have. If you live your life trying to make everyone happy, you're going to live a miserable, miserable life. Because people are going to say things no matter what. Even if they say they like you, everyone, every single person has something negative about every single person. Except for Bob Ross. Bob Ross is an amazing person, and everyone could agree. Bob Ross, Mr. Rogers, Steve Irwin, the Trinity. All right, the perfect three. Everyone loves them. um, Getting older is realizing that you were never really afraid of the dark. You were afraid of what might be watching us from within it. Have fun with that one. uh, Something people struggle to accept is that you can make all the plans you want, but life has plans of its own. No matter how much you prepare, some things will always be out of your control. Not everything will go your way, and honestly, it's better to expect that instead of trying to keep your plans from going off the rails. You're better off preparing for the inevitable derailment, because trust me, it will happen. The best thing you can do is brace yourself so that when life decides to throw you off course, at least you're ready to soften the landing. No, I agree with that. I agree with it so much. I am the original poster. I am the original poster. That's how much I agree with it so much. I'm currently writing a book, and the beginning of the book literally just says, you can make plans for life, but it's life that has plans for you." It's something that like I agree with with a full heart that like I say it everywhere. I've posted it on Twitter like 5 years ago. I made that quote on Twitter. I agree with it. Every time I've, especially with like personal experience, every time I've tried to like make plans for life, like when I was younger, I wanted to learn how to make video games. Okay. And so I took all the computer courses. I started taking I remember like junior high, I think. No, no, no. It was not junior high, but I remember at one point I did take a class on how to make video games, and I was learning it. I was learning how to code. And it was frustrating, but I loved it because it was like, I don't know, like meditation. It just calmed me learning how to code. And it kind of does still. Coding kind of does put me in a good vibe. But then when I got to C++, things got a little more complicated because then like once I started doing C++, I started getting more frustrated than I was calm. And I think I still have the program to work with. Um, my education came to an abrupt end, especially when I got into high school and I tried taking more computer classes to learn how to make video games. And like the majority of the classes that I found in high school were more of like, hey, here's this thing that you can do to like open a Microsoft Word account. And most colleges I look at, unless you go to university, which will definitely teach you how to make video games, like DeVry or Phoenix, um, I can't afford those. Even if I was to get a grant, I would never be able to pay off the interest loans alone. And I remember one person at one point was like, "You gotta know a lot of math. You gotta know geometry," and like it helps. You don't need to know it though, but it helps. Most video game development is not solely based on math. It's based on knowing how the software works. C++, for example, think of it like a library, and there's lots of books. And for you to be able to do a certain function, you have to be able to like tell the librarian what books you want, and the librarian grabs those books and brings them to you, and it's your job to figure out which order those books are supposed to go. And that's just kind of like not all of it, but like that's an oversimplification of like the introduction of C++. Knowing that gets you your foot in the door of like learning C++. Math does help, but knowing the programming helps even more. the reason why I transferred away from video game development, because I spent almost my entire life wanting to do that. And I just might get back into it. I just might. But the reason why I wanted to make video games so badly is because I loved video games. I shouldn't say that loved. I love the love. I love video games. And I wanted to make my own because I have such great ideas. But then one day I realized that even if you have such great ideas, when you work for a company, your ideas don't mean squat unless you're going to make it as an indie gamer, an indie developer. Otherwise, the ideas that you have don't mean squat. You're pretty much going to take orders from somebody else. Somebody else is going to be the guy that's going to be like, "Oh yeah, we have this idea for a video game." And it's like, "Oh well, I have an idea." Okay, so I need all of you to start working on my game. And that kind of like crushed my dreams of like, oh, so even if I became a video game developer, I would have to make someone else's game. That sucks. Personally, I kind of want to get into making video games like pixel video games. Not I want to make an Xbox game. No, no, no. I kind of want to make a game like Sonic the Hedgehog where it's like 16-bit. That's what I was looking for. I kind of want to start making video games that are 16-bit because those are kind of fun to work with. But my point is that I made plans to become a video game developer, and those plans did not pan out. And so then I switched plans and I started making videos for the internet. And I wanted to be a film producer or film editor is what I meant to say. I wanted to be a film editor. And that didn't pan out. And so now I'm kind of like, oh, then I want to be a social mediaist. And that didn't pan out. But like, I'm currently at, like, yeah, I'm still making videos for the internet, but like, I have a more realistic outlook on it now. Like, I know I'm not going to make it as, an internet influencer. And that's fine. I'll gladly take the world record, though. I'll gladly post as many videos as I can to get the world record of the most uploads onto YouTube. That's something I can handle. But I know that I'm probably not going to be an influencer, and that's fine with me. But that only means that I'm now starting to like get ready for the next thing in my life, whatever it's going to be. And I've learned that like even though you try to make all these plans, all these grand things to try to align yourself with, I'm sure what I've said so far wasn't a good example, but what I'm saying is sometimes the best way to adjust for when things don't go your way is to plan for them to not go your way. To kind of like, okay, I kind of want, let's say you're planning a trip, right? You've planned it all perfectly. And if you were to plan for maybe something happens to your flight. Okay, well, let's look at possible other solutions of how we'll get there. Okay. The hotel overbooked and or even double booked, and now your room's been given to someone else. Okay, well then let's look for hotels that just in case I would be able to like figure it out. I think there's like a phrase for this. It's like prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. Like if you do that, if you prepare for the worst and hope for the best, or if you just plan for things not to go your way, you're going to live a much more happier life. You will have contingencies for when things go bad. So that way when they do go bad, it's not a big deal. You had planned for it not to go your way. Here's a good one. I think this might be the last one I made. Uh People are shaped by the All right, let me start that one again. People are shaped by their failures. Every mistake we make, every failure we survive gives us a choice. Learn from it or let it break us. I've gotten further in life by remembering my failures than my successes. In a way, life feels like it's meant to be lived through failure because that's how we grow. If we never failed or if we were too afraid to try, life would be unbearably boring. Most of the best stories come from the times I failed. Some of my best jokes are rooted in my mistakes. We don't just grow from failure, we become more interesting because of it. And when I lie awake at night, my brain kindly replaying every embarrassing moment I've ever had, I remind myself those mistakes shaped me. They made sure I never forget the lessons they taught me. Oh yeah. Okay, no, no. There's a couple more, three more. Okay, there's four more. There's still a few more. Is what I mean to say. There's still a few more posts, but no, honestly, I've I'm a bit of an idiot. I make a lot of mistakes, and when at the moment of when I do something, I will be convinced that it was the right thing to do. And then in hindsight, I would go, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have done it that way. You know what? Yeah, that was kind of a dumb thing. But I learn from those mistakes. I learn as I go. Trial and error. That's what life's about. And I think that because of that, I have some of the greatest stories because I'm an idiot and I do dumb things. But at the same time, I have a lot of people who come to me for advice. And I'm kind of like a Reddit post. Like, have you ever like gone on Google and you try to like look up how do I fix this problem, and you end up on Reddit like from someone else who had the same problem and the solution they discovered to figure it out. That's why a lot of people come to me with like their problems to like what's a good advice for this thing. The reason why is because they know I'm kind of an idiot. And they probably are like, yeah, you seem like the kind of person who's made these mistakes before. And you're still around. So, what did you do to fix it? I don't know if I should start being insulted by that or flattered, but either way, I feel like, yeah, because of my terrible experiences and because of my poor decisions, I have learned from those mistakes. And I feel like it's made me a better person because of it. But at the same time, it's made me a more interesting person because of it. I think that we should not be afraid of mistakes or bad times because when bad things happen, we are able to appreciate the good times even more. And I think that if we accept the bad times with grace, we will be able to get through it much better. And know that you're going through something now, but that's just for now. Eventually you'll get past it. It looks like you're not going to, but eventually you'll get past it and you're going to get a really fun story out of it. Now, of course, this isn't towards all experiences. There's some things where maybe someone passed in the family, or maybe you've just been abused, or maybe, there's still a lesson to be learned from those experiences, though. And even though at the time of your grief, it doesn't seem like you're going to look back on that, trust me, even some of my worst memories that I have, and I've lived a lot of things, I use those as representations of what not to do. When something bad happens to me, I can now relate to someone who's also going through it because I now got to know what it felt like when I went through it, and I would never do that to someone else because I know how that felt when it happened to me. And because of that, I never would wish that on anybody. And so at the time when I was going through terrible things, it sucked and I didn't know if I would ever get through it. And then once I finally did make it to the other side, that because the experience was so unbearable, I would never do that to anyone else. And I'm not saying that it's a good thing I went through it. I would wish that like bad experiences never happen to anybody. But there's a silver lining to them. And as long as you can take something away from it, then you truly haven't lost. As long as you do not repeat the same circumstances that got you into those circumstances, as long as you remember how hard you fought to get out of that circumstance, I would encourage you to pass it along. Look for people who are currently going through what you went through in the past and help them through it. Because I guarantee you, you would wish someone was there to help you through it. And there's people who are going through the same kind of trauma that you were able to fight through. And I encourage you to try to help them. And to the people who are going through trauma, my personal message to you is that there are, what do they call those? They're like communities. They're like support groups. That's it. They're support groups. And I encourage you to go to those support groups, to be honest. Because only through a support group can you get through it better. Those support, the advice I had given earlier to pass it along, that's what that looks like, a support group. Because the person in charge most likely went through it. The person in charge of that support group has gone through it and they've made it to the other side, and they're trying to help others get through it also. Don't think of yourself less if you go to a support group. Those are there for you. You should absolutely seek out a support group for help, because that's what they're meant for. They're meant for helping. And never, by the way, never try to think that, oh, well, there's people who have it worse than I do. I don't deserve to have help. Don't think, are you serious? Trauma is trauma. Trauma is trauma. No matter how insignificant, no matter how small, it's still something bad. And if you go to a support group and learn the skills, or if you go to therapy and learn the skills, okay, not just only support groups help, therapy helps. If you learn the skills to get through your trauma, then you could prevent further trauma from happening. You can prevent further pain from happening. You don't need to sit there and go, well, I know this one person who had a similar circumstance than like I do, and they had it much worse. I shouldn't complain. Don't. That right there is you gaslighting yourself. Don't do that. Always be willing to accept help when it's given. Always be willing to go out and try to find a reasonable amount of help. You don't need to go through this alone. You don't need to rationalize, well, don't do that. Definitely don't do that. Please. I'm begging you. Fine, go get some help. There's not that much time left of this podcast. So I'm going to read this final post, and then I might do this again next podcast. I might go through some of my posts one more time. Definitely, I'm gonna make more posts so that I have more to read next episode. But I don't know. This has been fun. I like it so far. These 4 episodes that I could probably just run out the timer. Actually, there's enough time to where I can just do my final thoughts on this project of the 4 podcast episodes, because so far I have been doing rhyming, and I've been doing like the 1-word stories, and I've been doing the word of the day for the podcasts, and those are fine. Those are fun. But like, I keep getting people telling me that like their favorite part of the podcast is when I speak my mind or when I tell stories about myself. And these 4 episodes, this is me kind of experimenting to see if like this is in fact something that I should continue pursuing. This, if I should reshape the podcast to this style, to see if the podcast should in fact, I mean, it was fun to begin the podcasts like that, but now it might be time for me to evolve it into something more than just rhyming and telling facts and the word of the day, and see if this style of podcast is something that like people are more into, that people would be more willing to listen to. Not saying that the original format wasn't something that was fun for everyone to listen to, but I'm trying to see if this is something that is more accepted. And I think after 3 or 4 episodes, I'll get my answer based on people's reactions to the podcast, based on people's reactions to this format. And if this is in fact something, then you know, I'll keep doing it. I could always, because eventually at some point I'll run out of things to talk about, but I can always read the news. There's always something that's happening somewhere in the world that needs an opinion. And I don't know. I don't think that I have the answers to everything. Because as I said earlier, you should always assume that you don't know everything. But I also believe that I have good insight on some things. Not very often am I wrong about something. A lot of times I will speak my mind and I will receive negative feedback, by the way. My thoughts aren't always received well by others, but over time, maybe not right away, maybe not for a couple of months, maybe for now a couple of years, but eventually people usually end up seeing it my way. And a lot of the things that I have mentioned in the past that was received with criticism is now kind of the common thing nowadays. And it's like, yeah, you were mad at me at first, but you now know I was right. And because of that, I have an interesting take on things. And I think that's what's going to make this podcast even more fun. If this is what people want to see, the way that I've been doing it lately with these 3 to 4 episodes. I think that I may not be right about a lot of things, but my perspective and my insights is what's going to make it at least a little interesting. And trust me, I'm not one of those kinds of people that if I'm wrong, I'm just going to gaslight you into believing that I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'll openly admit I'm wrong. If I get called out, I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, no, of course, like if you're wrong, I'm going to say you're wrong. But if you could prove that I'm wrong, if you can like look it up and be like, actually right here at this source, it says it this way. All right, you got me then. And I'll actually read the article to correct myself so I could stop passing off wrong information. One of the things that I'm wrong about, and I used to think I was absolutely correct about, was when you refer to you and like a group of people, you should address yourself first. And I used to tell that to everyone. I'm like, no, it's myself and my friends. And then one day I was like, I wonder if that is true. And I looked it up and I was wrong about that. For years, I've been talking like an idiot. It's my friends and myself. You're supposed to address yourself last. Even if you were to like list off a bunch of names, you're supposed to address yourself last. So if you're like, yeah, it's me, Bob, Bill, and Joe. No, it's Bill, Bob, Joe, and myself. Or Bill, Bob, Joe, and me. You're supposed to address yourself last. For so long, I thought it was first. That was kind of an oopsies. That was kind of an embarrassing realization of knowing I was wrong about that. But I'm willing to admit I'm wrong about it. And there's nothing wrong with admitting to it. What's wrong is when you're wrong and you argue it. And even if they were to show you facts and reasons, you still argue it. And that's not okay. You are wrong, just admit it. Or here's a fun one. The people who beat around the bush and will never admit they're wrong. I hate that. Just admit it. It's fine to admit that you're wrong. And I get it. Most people don't want to admit that they're wrong because they're afraid of ridicule or being put down. But like if you sit there and people are like, "Oh, hey, by the way, you do know that it's not this way. It's actually this way." "Oh, well, that's just what I was told." Okay, well then why did you pass it off as your knowledge then? "Oh, well, that's just what I had figured it was." Just say, "Oh, okay. I guess I was wrong about that." That's fine. That's a fine, reasonable response. Or, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I just didn't know that." That's also a fine response. Admitting that you just didn't know is a fine response. But sitting there and being like, oh, well, it's not my fault. It's his fault because he's the one that told me. Yeah, that's not taking accountability. Anyways, my timer just went off, which means it's been an hour. We've did it. Yay. It's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening in. Thank you so much for being a part of the premiere live chat. If you were not and you watched it after the premiere, still thank you. That means a lot to me that you're still listening to my podcast. And I will catch all of you next time.